Happy to have you guys here. I appreciate you guys checking in today. We are going to be talking about a potential trade between the New York Mets and the Oakland Athletics involving Brandon Nimmo and third baseman Matt Chapman. So not a lot of hope on this one, but I'm still kind of a believer it may happen. So let's see if we can kind of create a trade here on this one. We've heard some rumors going back to last week that the Mets were looking at Chapman and they were potentially talking with the Athletics about a trade with them. Just last night I streamed, and that was because the Mets signed outfielder Kevin Pillar to a deal, and they gave him a major league roster spot on the team. So it started to make me think, you know what, maybe there's more to it than just signing Kevin Pillar to be the team's fourth outfielder. Maybe the Mets are concocting and working on something bigger than just bringing in Pillar. The reason it was so head-scratching was because they had just brought in Alvarez Jr., who, in my opinion, the two of those guys are basically a carbon copy of one another. I didn't really see the logic in bringing in Kevin Pillar, who, like Alvarez, has declining numbers in center field on defense and really is not all too great of a hitter. When they already have Brandon Nimmo, who has really impressive offensive production, but again, is not really a true center fielder. So now I'm starting to think maybe the Mets are, in fact, working on a deal with Athletics involving Matt Chapman, the third baseman, a big need of the New York Mets. Right now, is currently comprised, the Mets have J.D. Davis probably slotted in as their everyday third baseman at this moment. Now, unfortunately, as great of a hitter J.D. Davis is, he's not a very good defensive third baseman. And so for me personally, if the Mets are going to go very far this year, if they're going to make the playoffs and then hopefully go far in the playoffs, they're going to have to figure something out and improve third base defense. If you guys are just joining the stream, I appreciate you guys checking in. My name is Tony Metro, and I cover all the latest news and rumors in Major League Baseball. Daniel Cohen, welcome to the chat. So we've heard a couple rumors going back as late as last week on Thursday, and then just today we did just see something on Twitter. I'm not sure the veracity of it, how true it definitely is, but I definitely think that it is a potential opportunity for both teams, and I'm going to run through why I believe that's the case. So looking at Brandon Nimmo, I'm going to be sharing my screen with you guys so you guys can see exactly what I am seeing. Let's take a look at Brandon Nimmo and the numbers that he's had over the last couple of years. Nimmo was, of course, drafted in 2011, former first-round pick. A little bit of a slow start. Didn't make his debut with the team until 2016. But since then has been one of the most productive offensive players in baseball. And they wouldn't really meet the typical eye test if you were looking at traditional statistics. As you can see, his slash line's pretty good. The main thing to focus on has been his OBP throughout his career. As you can see, a career 390 on base percentage. Last year in 55 games, 404. The year before that in 69 games, 375. And in 2018, truly his most complete season thus far in the big leagues, it was 404. So Brandon Nimmo has an elite eye. He draws a ton of walks. He gets into a lot of really good counts, and that helps him get on base quite a bit. And, of course, that makes his OPS numbers pretty good, even though his slugging, for the most part, is pretty average. I believe the league average for slugging is around 436. So, he actually did put up a good number in 2018 as well as 2020. They were both around 483, 484. Interesting to watch. If you look at 2020 versus 2018, that slash line is almost identical. 404 on base percentage, 483 slugging in 2018, 484 slugging percentage in 2020. But overall, Brandon Nimmo has some pop. You can hit a couple balls out of the yard, and he easily could be a very, very one of the best left fielders in baseball. As far as center field, where he's currently placed with the Mets, he really doesn't fit in there because he's not exactly a tremendous defensive center fielder. He won't exactly kill you out there, but he's definitely not a true center fielder. If we go and look at his defensive runs over the last couple of years, Brandon Nimmo in center field back in 2018 over 44 games was worth -10 defensive runs saved, as opposed to left field, where he was +5 defensive runs saved in 2018. Same could be said for 2019. Center field, -30 defensive runs saved. He actually was -8 in left field as well, so that wasn't so good. I do know he fought some injuries in 2019, and so that wasn't helpful toward that cause. And right field actually was worth 31, but that was only over 6 games, so not exactly a true sample size for Nimmo. Let's go and take a look over at Brandon Nimmo's outs above average and what he's done over there. So Brandon Nimmo's done a pretty good job of being an offensive guy, but really hasn't, been able to turn into a two-way player. And unfortunately, that's probably what it's going to be for his career. So let me get this off here, and I'm going to put you guys onto his defensive, or rather outs above average. And if you guys are just joining, I you guys coming in. What's going on? Patuator, what's up, my man? I appreciate you coming in. Mets Talk with Hayden, what's going on, dude? How are you? John DiDonato, hey, appreciate you. Thank you. So we heard last week from Craig Carden and Evan Roberts that the Mets and the Athletics were talking about a potential trade for Chapman. Now, we don't know if that's exactly true or not. Craig Carden has a tendency to kind of stretch the truth a little bit. If you know who I'm talking about, he's one of the FBM personalities. But it was apparently confirmed by his partner, Evan Roberts, who I have a lot of faith in, very straight shooter, big Mets fan. I don't think that he would have allowed him to have said that on air if it wasn't actually true. Then earlier today, I saw something on Twitter. Now, again, I know it's on Twitter. It may not exactly be the most factual or accurate report, but still, I do see the potential here between the Athletics and between the New York Mets. Number one, the Athletics love Moneyball, obviously. They want cheap guys that find ways to put out production, and that's exactly what Brandon Nimmo is. Brandon Nimmo is one of the most impressive offensive players when you take a look at some of his underlying metrics. I'm not going to get too into the weeds on those right now, mainly because I don't have them in front of me, and they're kind of tough to find sometimes. But basically, the idea that sending Nimmo to the Athletics as part of a package that might have to include maybe one other guy, another prospect, maybe like Mark Vientos, maybe a guy like Thomas Sappucci, I think that might be able to get it done in the case of trying to get Matt Chapman here. Now, Matt Chapman, if we want to go take a look over at his numbers real quick, I'm going to go take a look at his offensive numbers and defensive numbers over the last couple of years and give you guys an idea of what he's done. So let's go over to Chapman. Here's Matt Chapman's baseball reference. He's 27 years old, debuted in 2017, and now he's basically eligible on contract. Doesn't become a free agent until 2024, as you can see right here. Now, here's why I think it makes sense that the Mets and the Athletics could come together on a trade here, because the Athletics, as we all know, are very conscious of the money that they spend. They have to maintain a low budget. They just simply don't have the money to pay a big-time salary for their team. So the Mets could potentially come in, help them out, get them Brandon Nimmo, who's a very productive offensive player, who's slightly cheaper at this time, and also throw in a prospect or two to sweeten the deal for them. Let's take a look. Matt Chapman, arguably one of the best third basemen, if not the best third baseman in baseball. In my opinion, it's still Nolan Arenado. But going back to 2018, Matt Chapman in his first full season, 145 games, had a 278 slash line, a 356 OBP, a 508 slugging, which was an 864 OPS. That OPS plus 137, and like I've mentioned in some of my other streams, OPS plus is basically measured on a scale of 100, where that's league average. Anything above that is the percent better than you are than league average. So, for example, Matt Chapman with a 137 OPS plus means he 7% better than league average. 2019 came back, played 156 games. I love that. An Iron Man of sorts, really played a ton of games those 2 years. Really admirable. You don't see that too often anymore, and I appreciate that. 36 bombs, 91 RBIs, had a 249 batting average, dipped a little bit from 2018. His OBP was pretty similar, though, 342, dropped only 14 points, not too bad. And slugging was basically the same. OPS came out to be 848. So pretty solid follow-up season in 2019. And he had an 848 OPS to go with his OPS 127. So was actually 7th in All-Star voting in 2018, 6th in MVP voting in 2019, and of course won Gold Gloves in back-to-back years there, which leads me to my next point, looking at Matt Chapman defensively. And like I said at the beginning of the stream, one of the biggest concerns for me is Matt Chapman, or rather J.D. Davis's defense at third base. I think it's something the Mets need to improve on as they head into this season. So looking at 2017, in 84 games at third base, Chapman was worth 25 defensive runs saved per year. Now, again, this is extrapolated over a full season, so it's not always exactly the most accurate estimation, but 2018 would have been 28 defensive runs saved over 145 games. So that's about as accurate as you can get. 31 defensive runs saved in 156 games in 2019. I mean, the guy up with Arenado, the two best defenders in baseball. So, for my money, it could go either way. I personally prefer Nolan Arenado, but, Matt Chapman is no one to, brush your nose at. He is a tremendous player. What's up, guys? I'm just getting back to the chat now. Appreciate you guys checking in. Daniel Cohen. So basically, this is a rumor that circulated last week. We heard a little bit about it last week from the Roberts show on WFAN. Now at this point, it seems more like speculation. I am kind of giving you an idea of what a trade between the Mets and Athletics would look like for Matt Chapman. And my personal belief is that the Mets signing Kevin Pillar last night may have been the first step in doing this trade, because the Mets now have Kevin Pillar, Albert Almora Jr., and Brandon Nimmo. That's three guys that play center field but don't do it very well. Meanwhile, none of them are tremendous hitters either. So, I could totally see this actually working out for the Mets and for both teams. So I'm going to take this off now, go back to the stream. I want to get to some of your guys' questions. Mets Talk with Hayden, what's going on? Maniac Matt, what's going on, man? I appreciate you guys checking in. I'm doing well, Mr. Patchell. I'm doing well. I appreciate it. Yeah, Patchwork, I wouldn't want to give up Nimmo either. I think he's a tremendous player. He's one of the most productive offensive players in the league. And you take a look at his weighted runs created plus, it's top 5 in the league over the last 5 years. There's a lot of great things to like about Brandon Nimmo, but at the same time, sometimes you have to make a trade and you have to try to improve other areas of need. And at this point, it kind of seems like Sandy Alderson is playing some money ball with the signings of Kevin Pillar and Albert Almora. They almost combine to put together the same production that Brandon Nimmo does out in center field as far as their offense. And it kind of makes sense that if the Mets were going to move on for Nimmo, who is going to be a free agent not after this year, but after next year, and then have to think about an extension for him, does it make sense now to, move him and get Chapman for the next 3 years? That's kind of what I'm thinking. Now, as far as the Athletics, I'm sure they'd love Brandon Nimmo, but at the same time, they're going to want a little bit more. Let's jump into why that might make sense for them. And I'm going to go over and take a look right now and show you guys their payroll for 2021 and beyond, and why they might be interested in doing this. Because like I mentioned, Athletics are always conscious about the payroll for them. It's unfortunate, but they have to ball on a budget. So it might be something that actually works out for them. So let's go here. If I could try to get this zooming in and zooming out to do a little bit better, that'd be great. Spotify Premium, I'm good. Thanks, though. All right, so the Athletics right now, highest paid player is Elvis Andrus, who they actually just acquired in a trade when they shipped out Chris Davis. I'm actually curious what the money on Chris Davis was, but I guess maybe that's an expiring contract for Elvis Andrus after this year, and maybe that's why they did it. I'm not going to jump into that because I just want to focus on their overall payroll. Next highest guy is Stephen Piscotty, Marcana, Matt Chapman at $6.5 million, as you guys can see right here. And like I said, he'll be a free agent in 2024. That means they have control of him this year, next year, and the year after that. Right now, the Oakland Athletics payroll is sitting at $63 million. The Athletics probably don't have a line drawn in the sand on where they want to be. They're obviously not anywhere near approaching the $210 million luxury tax payroll threshold where they start to get hit by penalties. And, you never expect that they ever would go too close to that. Brandon Nimmo, meanwhile, is making, I believe, $9 million this year. No, not even. Wow. Only $4.7 million. So, in the short term, the Athletics would save some money on Brandon Nimmo as far as their payroll. Of course, losing Matt Chapman would suck, but, it might be something that they end up having to do at this point with him eventually now going to start making a lot more money as his arbitration years kick in and as he approaches free agency. It's an unfortunate reality of being an athletics fan is that they really can't retain any of their star players, and that happens to be with a lot of teams. Just look at the Indians. They couldn't afford to keep Francisco Lindor. Of course, it benefits my New York Mets, but at the same time, it kind of stinks that a lot of teams don't get to keep their star players over time. Let's go over to the chat. Zach Ruskowski, I love Brandon Nimmo too, but Matt Chapman is amazing. Matt Chapman makes this team one of the best defensively, in my opinion. It's still a little bit to be desired in center field at that point, because I'm assuming it would be Pilar and a combination of Almora or maybe Khalil Lee or Malik Smith. But having Matt Chapman at third base and having Francisco Lindor at shortstop would just be ridiculous. Just insane. Let's take a look at this trade proposal from Michael Mcneil. Would you do Nimmo, Davis, Beatty, Sappucci for Chapman? I would pass, he says. Yeah, I would agree with you. I'm definitely going to pass on that one, man. That's a little bit too much for me. I would do Davis, Beatty, Sappucci, or I would do Nimmo and Sappucci, but I wouldn't give them Beatty and Nimmo and JD Davis. No, that'd be way too much for me. But I like where your head's at. Not a terrible one. Just I think the Mets are overpaying there. Yeah, you know what? If they were going to do a trade Mets talk with Hayden, I'd prefer it be Ronnie Mauricio, because I am not extremely high on him. I don't really think he's got great, numbers in the minor leagues from what I've seen. And I just kind of feel like he's going to be another one of those Ahmed Rosarios. He was an international signing, and I don't want to lump them in with each other for any particular reason. I just kind of get a gut feeling about Mauricio that, he's not going to really develop into a guy. And, all the word on Ronnie Mauricio is that he's going to be too lengthy to even be a shortstop. He's probably going to go to third base at some point. I don't know if he has the bat to be a third baseman, though. Typically a third baseman, you're looking for a guy that can hit 30 to 40 home runs. And I really don't see him developing into that power. If you just look at him now, I know he's 19 years old, but he's pretty scrawny. He's a skinny guy. He's very tall. I think he's 6'3", 166 pounds. He's listed at switch hitter, which is pretty attractive. But highest level of play is at A ball. I'm not too big on Ronnie Mauricio. And if a big trade like a Matt Chapman one came up, I would definitely have to throw in Mauricio if it meant keeping some of our other top prospects, or even a guy like Nimmo or, Brett Beatty or JD Davis or someone like that. I'd love to keep the crew together as much as we can. Obviously, that's probably impossible if you're trying to trade for a big player like Matt Chapman or like, Chris Bryant, as, even though it sounds like those rumors are over now. Nick Rickman, I hope you're right, man. I really hope you're right, because that I think this would put the team over the top. The only thing I'm concerned about, though, is, does this become a wash? Like, is Brandon Nimmo as productive an offensive player as Matt Chapman is, and they kind of, wash each other out by sending Nimmo away? I'm not so sure. I don't know. They're both productive, but in different ways. Like, Matt Chapman brings tremendous defense at third base. He also can hit 35, 40 home runs. Brandon Nimmo, great defensive center fielder, but also does a ton of other underlying things on offense, like his incredible on-base percentage and prowess, and like weighted runs created plus and all that stuff kind of ends up coming together to be almost equally as productive as a guy that hits 30 home runs. So I don't know if they wash each other out or not. I'm just saying I feel like this is a potential opportunity for these two teams to get together, and I think this is probably where it would start. The other option I would say is maybe Francisco Alvarez. The Mets, I guess you could call him their second best prospect. I personally think he's their best prospect. He's a catcher. And like I said in last night's stream, he's going to be the first guy that every team is asking for when, the Mets are going to be looking at a big name player on the other team. The Francisco Alvarez is going to be the guy that everyone is looking for, because he is a catcher, which is just such a rare commodity right now in Major League Baseball. You just don't see very many good catchers. I guess there's like probably 2 or 3 off the top of my head that I could rely on day in and day out. One of them, obviously, JT Realmuto. I guess the next one could be Yasmani Grandal, and even he, I don't know if he's like enough at this point in his career. And the same for Will Smith, who just, truly probably hasn't developed into a star. Other than that, it's like, Gary Sanchez has been terrible the last 2 years. They're really, really deficient of talented catchers in Major League Baseball. So Francisco Alvarez would probably be the first player that everyone's asking for in a potential trade with the Mets. What I do, Beatty, Sappucci, Davis for Eugenio Suarez, Michael Mcneil asks. Michael, I am not a big fan of Eugenio Suarez. I think that he's going to get nerfed at a new stadium. Like if he came to Citi Field, I think he might only hit like 20 or 22 home runs there. Field or right-handed power hitters are not treated very kindly at Citi Field with that wind gust that comes in from the Bay. And, the thing is, man, I just, playing in Cincinnati is so different from playing in New York. I could totally see Suarez coming here being a dud, only hitting 20 home runs. And, he doesn't play good defense at third base either. So, honestly, like, I wouldn't want Eugenio Suarez at all. Even just for J.D. Davis, straight up, I wouldn't do it. Never mind Beatty and Sappucci. So, that's just me. I don't think that's a bad trade proposal you're offering there. It's just not one that I would do. Mets talk with Hayden Chapman and Puck. I don't remember. Is AJ Puke? I don't know. He looks like puke. He's nasty. Puck to the Mets and A's get Nimmo, Smith, and Mauricio. No, man, I'm not trading Nimmo and Dom Smith. That's just gonna that kind of eliminates the entire trade for the team. Honestly, that's probably actually gonna make the Mets a worse team, to be honest with you. Just because Dom Smith and Brandon Nimmo, I mean, that's just way too much. I mean, I would do one of Nimmo and Mauricio, or Smith and Mauricio for those two guys, but both Nimmo and Smith, that's way too much to trade for even for Matt Chapman and AJ Puck. Patuator, Beatty hit 203. I'm kind of worried. Let's go take a look at Brett Beatty's numbers and see what's up with him. We'll take a look at his prospect evaluation as well on MLB.com. Let me pull that up for you guys, and then I'm going to share my screen with you. And we're ready to go. And thank you guys for joining. I appreciate it. This is my first time doing some screen sharing. I'm on StreamYard, and I appreciate you guys checking in. Kind of a new experience for me. I hope you guys enjoy it. And if you're new to my channel, be sure to leave this stream a like and to subscribe to my channel so you guys can stay up to date on all the latest MLB and off-season news. Just released a video today. If you haven't already checked that out, be sure to do that after this. I give a ranking for and grade for every MLB team and their off-season this year. So let's go take a look at Brett Beatty. Magali, you were saying, or Patuator, you were saying you were a little worried about, what he was doing, and I guess you have some reason to be concerned. He hit 202, or was that 203? Let's take a look here. So 2019, because of course there was no season in 2020 for the minor leagues, but in 51 professional games between rookie ball, I don't remember what that's called, the Brooklyn team, the Brooklyn Cyclones play, that's called short season ball. And yeah, the impressive thing is he actually went up and played with 3 different levels of ball in his first year. And that was like immediately after getting drafted out of high school. Like imagine being in high school and then you go play 4 games for the Brooklyn team. And then you go and play 42 games for the Kingsport rookie team. And then you get called up again and go play 5 games at, I forgot, I guess the GCL Mets right here. And, his average may have been a little low in some of those, but his OBP, that's what's impressive to me. I know it's only 5 games, 20 at-bats, but 480 OBP with the GCL Mets, 339 in Kingsport with the whatever they're called. I forgot. Kingsport Mets, I guess. Yeah. And 529 in Brooklyn with the Cyclones. So I wouldn't get too caught up on his batting average. And you know what? He also popped 7 home runs and had 33 RBIs over that time. He did strike out quite a bit, as you could see, 65 Ks compared to his 35 walks. But again, the kid is young. He only truly got, 51 games in his professional career. Last year didn't count because obviously they had no professional season for the minor league. So, he was just kind of doing like a summer camp the whole year, which really sucked. I'm interested to see how that's going to affect some of these guys and what they do in the next coming years, the guys that were in the minor leagues. So I want to take a look here at Francisco Alvarez now and see what he did in 2019. So Alvarez, the guy who I've mentioned, is probably the most untouchable prospect in my eyes, other than maybe Matthew Allen in the Mets farm system. Catcher, of course, his highest level of play was at full A ball with the Columbia Fireflies. They're actually no longer an extension of the Mets organization with the reshuffling of minor league baseball teams. But, let's take a look at what he did here in 2019. Played with two different teams, and similar to what Brett Baty did, played with the Kingsport Mets, then moved up the GCL Mets, and played 35 games in Kingsport, 377 OBP, very good there. Slugging was a little low at 443, don't love that. Home runs, 5. 26 RBIs. His strikeout to walks, about 1 to 2 as far as walks to strikeouts. So something that, obviously you want to see get improved. 7 games then with the GCL Mets, had a 548 on base percentage, which is great. Obviously small sample size of just 26 at-bats, but slugging percentage was much improved. 846. And again, it is a small sample size. That's largely because he had 2 home runs in 26 of those at bat. That's a big reason why. Happy to see, though, that the strikeouts evened out, even in that small sample size. And overall, the bio on Alvarez is that, he was the number 13 international prospect in the Mets system at one point, or in the international pool before the Mets signed him. And, according to this, you can see right here, has loud tools, impressively advanced, feel for the game, had a 1395 OPS over his first 7 games. Okay, not a big deal over his first 7 games. But apparently also, has the ability to be a very big difference maker on defense as well. They say, despite being physically advanced and accurate, plus arm strength bodes well for controlling the running game. Agile defender, earns high marks for energy, willingness to learn. Could naturally come with experience as far as being a game caller. If all clicks, could develop into an above-average big league catcher, capable of impacting the game on both sides of the ball. So that's the big hype on Francisco Alvarez. I personally don't want to trade Francisco Alvarez, but if it's for Matt Chapman, that's kind of another story. I might have to pull the trigger on that. I mean, Francisco Alvarez, just going back quick, he's 19 years old. I mean, the guy is probably at least 4 years away. I mean, this is kind of crazy to me. Born after 9/11. Wow. Okay, that's always creepy to me. R.I.P. But anyway, I think that if the Mets were to try and pull off a trade with the Athletics, it's either going to be centered around one of the big name guys on the current big league roster, like Brandon Nimmo or Dom Smith. I'd prefer that it be Nimmo, I think, at this point. But at the same time, I don't want to let him go. So maybe the alternative route is to trade one of those prospects we just ran through, like Francisco Alvarez, and maybe like Brett Baty or Ronnie Murillo. But, either way, it's always tough to part with these guys. You know what I mean? Let me get back to the chat over here and see what you guys are talking about. Nick, Nimmo did have a good season this year. I mean, he's a great player. He really is. It's just a matter of staying healthy. That's Nimmo's biggest problem. It's like you get hurt a lot, and it's like, all right, we can't really rely on him, and that's a big issue. And the other component of it all is just he's not exactly the most adept center fielder as far as defense, and that hurts the Mets a lot. Chapman for Mauricio, Davis, Baty. That's I'm probably pulling the trigger on that one. Yeah, I am. Because like I said, I'm not big on Mauricio. The Mets are expected, or at least should, extend Francisco Lindor, so there's really no need for him. And if they bring in Matt Chapman, well, Mauricio, who probably moves over to third base anyway, now that hole is filled. And so Brett Beatty kind of becomes useless as well. Same for JD Davis. Yeah, I like that trade, Michael. I would pull that one. Let's talk with Hayden. Another proposal here: Smith, Mauricio, and a mid-level pitching prospect. Yeah, man. I mean, like, dude, honestly, I want to part with Dom Smith. That's like the hard part of that trade for me. Like, I do think that the Athletics would probably be asking for him, but honestly, if it's involving Smith, I just feel like that almost like washes out the trade for the Mets. It's like, yeah, they're getting Chapman, but they're losing Smith. Did we really improve that much? And the other factor of it, I think Dom Smith a little bit more time. Actually, no, I think they're even on control time, service time. Yeah, I think they're both free agents in 2024. So yeah, no, your proposal is good. Pretty fair trade for both sides. I personally just like have a tough time trading Dom Smith. So good proposal for me personally. It'd be tough for me to do just because I love Dom Smith. Besides Sappucci, who's close to being called up? Yeah, you know, that's a good question. Let me go back and share my screen with you guys again. I think we have Sappucci, Franklin Colome, if he counts. Colome has been up and in the major leagues for the team a few times in his career, but hasn't really stuck. Yeah, let's take a look. He's 25 years old, and he's actually the guy the Mets acquired when they traded Asdrubal Cabrera to the Phillies back in 2018. The guy is gigantic. He's 6'6", and I went to the Mets Fan Fest last year, and he was standing in the hallways, and I was like, geez, like he's just huge. But, you know, that's besides the point because he hasn't really pitched too well for the Mets so far. Yeah, last year I think was his major league debut. I could have sworn he debuted in 2019, but I guess I'm wrong. In 4 appearances last year, in 11.1 innings pitched, gave up 14 hits, 5 home runs. Oh my God, he was terrible. Oh my God, I did not realize it was that bad. Woof, that's pretty rough. Okay, but you know that's the thing. He's probably the next closest guy to playing for the Mets as far as prospects. And so let's also take a look at Thomas Sappucci. Sappucci, as I've mentioned quite a bit, had Tommy John surgery a couple years ago, and then most recently had back issues, and that was why he missed part of 2019. He's 20 years old. He's a lefty, which, you know, obviously is attractive. First year rookie ball obviously didn't do well, only 3 games. But, I mean, look at his numbers after that. Kingsport Mets in 5 starts, 0.62 ERA. Short season ball with the Brooklyn Cyclones in 4 starts, 2.35. 2017 in Colombia with the Fireflies had 6 starts, again, 2.79 ERA. And then 2019 made the jump from 3 different teams. Went from the Columbia Fireflies up to St. Lucie A-plus ball Mets, and then to Binghamton. He went to Double-A. He only made 1 start, but didn't give up any runs in 4 innings. Overall, if you take a look right here, this right here, 2.42, that's his career minor league ERA. So, you know, he's got good numbers. Now, sometimes that can be deceiving. You know, you can have a guy that like looks like he's got good numbers in the minor leagues, but he doesn't truly have the stuff to make it in the big leagues. I'm not sure if that's the case with Sappucci or not. Taking a look at his grading scale here, not bad, not amazing, nothing earth-shattering. He was a 5th-round pick in 2015. I believe that was the same year that Conforto was drafted in the 1st round. I think that's kind of interesting. Taking a look, fastballs at 55, changeups at 45, curveball 60, his controls at 45, and his overall is a 50 out of 80. So, I mean, like, he's right in the middle. Like, I guess that could project him as, like, maybe a 3rd starter in a rotation. That, or maybe he comes up and becomes, like, a good relief pitcher. I don't have the list on all of his pitches. If this is the case and it's just fastball, curveball, changeup, that's a little concerning. I don't know if you can get away with that as a starting pitcher. Might need a 4th pitch unless that changeup is just truly nasty. But that might end up being, if that's the case, he might end up in the bullpen. Other than that, I don't think there's a lot of other guys that are ready to come up and make an impact in the big leagues right now for the Mets, unfortunately. So, you know, I just it's unfortunate, but that's why, Khalil Lee, I guess, is the next guy who they just acquired in the trade with the Royals. So, yeah, and Hayden, I hear you. I know Dom Smith has no position, but here's the thing. Like, the DH is coming. The DH will probably be here next year, if not even this year. So, to me personally, like, it'd be a little short-sighted to send Dom Smith off just because right now the DH isn't here when in all likelihood it will be. And, there's still a way to find Dom Smith and fit him into this lineup. Just kind of like the Dodgers do with Max Muncy and Chris Taylor and Jock Peterson before he left the team. They mix and match those guys all over the field. And before that, it was like the Chase Utley and the Justin Turner who played a little bit of everywhere. And even Cody Bellinger would bounce around right field, center field, first base. So for me personally, Dom Smith, his defense obviously in left is not great. I think he should be playing more first base. But of course, Pete Alonso's there. So, anytime there's a DH, he'll be playing first base and Alonso will be DHing. Yeah, Smith had an amazing season in 2020. I mean, I think he was on pace for like 100 extra base hits in the 2020 season if it was over a full regular season. Orange and Blue Shirt Podcast, what's going on, my man? I appreciate you checking in. Guys, be sure to check him out. I believe I got you on Twitter, and then I think on YouTube as well. So I'm going to only go for another couple minutes here. I appreciate you guys checking in. If you guys haven't watched my new video, I just released it today, and I give a grade for every MLB team's off-season grade. A lot of teams did well. A lot of teams did bad. The Mets got a B from me. I think that they could have done a little bit better, and if they make a trade like for Matt Chapman, depending on who's going back in that trade, they could definitely get bumped up to an A. Or they could get up to an A if they extend Francisco Lindor and Michael Conforto. But right now I had to give the Mets a B. I feel like it's still a little incomplete. We'll see if they make any changes. The lowest on my list was obviously the Cleveland Indians and the Colorado Rockies. The Indians traded us Francisco Lindor and Carlos Carrasco. Their payroll right now is $36 million. Okay, Trevor Bauer is making more money this year than the entire Cleveland Indians roster. So just really sad for the Indians and their fans. They get an F. And then as well as the Rockies, obviously they trade Nolan Arenado. They give $50 million in cash to the Cardinals. And I don't even look at the prospects they got back, but it doesn't matter, man. They traded the face of their franchise. Now they're going to have to deal with another guy having to leave, and Trevor Story probably. I don't think Story wants to sign there after he just watched how that all went. And Padres got the highest grade. They got an A+, obviously. I mean, they killed it this offseason. They made some incredible moves, and they're going to be tough team. The Mets will be competing with probably in the wild card race if the Mets are not, winning the NL East. Mets talk with Hayden. How many MLB stadiums have you been to? I think I've been to 11. I'll run through them real quick. And then I'll take one or two more questions from you guys. Shea Stadium, Citi Field, Old Yankee Stadium, New Yankee Stadium, Fenway, Milwaukee. I forgot the name. Miller Park. They changed that recently. I've been to Angel Stadium, Dodger Stadium, Petco Park, Arizona Park, whatever they call that one, Diamondbacks crap. And I've been outside of the Giants Stadium. Actually, I was in San Francisco with my family, and it was the night that Barry Bonds was going to hit his 700th home run, and he hit his 700th home run, but we did not get tickets to the game. So that really sucked. But, yeah, I think I've been to about 10 MLB stadiums in my life. So, yeah, pretty cool. Nick Rickman asks, is Pete Alonso going to have a 60 home run season in 2021? I don't think so, no. He hit 54 in his rookie year, which was pretty damn good. I don't think he's hitting 60. I think the last guy to hit 60 was Giancarlo Stanton in 2016 or 2017, whenever that was with the Marlins, when he won the MVP. Yeah, no, I don't think he will. And I hope the expectations aren't too high for Pete Alonso. Like, he can hit 40 home runs and still really have a great season if he has a good slash line, if he improves on his defense, and he stops striking out so much and draws some more walks. Like, the bar doesn't have to be 50 home runs now just because he did it his first year. I'm hoping that we can all like just realize that he can still be a really good player without having to hit a tremendous amount of homers. That being said, I do still expect him to hit anywhere from 40 to 45 this year in a full season, should we have one. Okay, very cool, Hayden. Nice, man. Yeah, no, I have not been to Marlins Park. Yeah, I did Fenway. Fenway's awesome. I actually went to Yankee Stadium, the new one, last year, 2019, and it was for the Subway Series game, and it was like raining. It was like misty, and the game got rained out, and it didn't even rain. I was so pissed. I had a bunch of friends in town for the first time, never been to Yankee Stadium, and we didn't get to see the Subway Series because it was misting. It wasn't even raining. I was so pissed off. That's classic Yankees. They suck. But yeah, anyway, guys, the main focus of this stream was to talk about a potential trade between the Mets and the Athletics for Brandon Nimmo and Matt Chapman. Give me a couple of your guys. No, wait, this way. Give me a couple of your guys' thoughts here in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think about a trade between the Athletics and the Mets and what it would look like. And how would you feel about if the Mets were sending Brandon Nimmo and then maybe a prospect for Matt Chapman? Would you like that trade, or do you not really want to trade Brandon Nimmo? If you don't want to trade Brandon Nimmo, give me your best proposal right here for the Mets to acquire Matt Chapman. And I'm going to read off a couple, and then I'm going to wrap it up right here. But before that, let me take a look. You got a couple more here in the comment section. Let's talk with Hayden. Did you see MLB rank Jeff McNeil as the 35th best player in the MLB? Thoughts? Yeah, I mean, dude, Jeff McNeil is a beast. The guy is crazy good at just getting his bat on the ball. It's like really impressive. The only thing I really wish that McNeil would do a little bit more of is be a little more patient and selective on his pitches that he tries to swing at. I think that that's just part of his game, and I'd never change that. But there are a lot of times where he's going to kind of go after too many poor pitches and out of the strike zone, and it kind of affects him. Mauricio Davis Sappucci for Chapman. Oh, sorry, guys. Dog. And you guys can all see my little boy here, Mookie. Oh, never mind. Mookie, come. Come. All right, so, yeah, it sounds like a lot of guys in this chat want to, send Mauricio and maybe J.D. Davis, Sappucci for Chapman. And I understand that. I don't want the Mets to trade Nimmo either. I kind of feel like it's a lateral move if you're moving Nimmo for Chapman. But at the same time, like, it seems like maybe one of the only possible avenues that would work for the two teams to get it done. They're comparable players, and I think money-wise it kind of works out as well for both of them. So, guys, I got to get going because I got to take my little guy here, Mookie, out for a walk. Mookie after Mookie Wilson. He makes his debut. That's right. Yeah, after Mookie Wilson. He doesn't have his collar on right now, but he's got a little Mets collar. Good boy. Good boy. Yeah. So, guys, I know this was not my best stream. I was a little distracted. I had the dog in here and also just, was kind of trying to run through all the different ideas and show you the stats and share my screen for the first time. So a little clunky here by me. That's bad, but I appreciate all you guys checking in. I really do. It means a lot to me. And let me know on my video and on this comment section over here what you guys want to see from me in the future. How can I improve my channel? What kind of content do you want? I want to make more stuff that you guys enjoy. That's the whole point, and the whole reason that I do this is because, I just want to, be able to connect with other baseball fans. So at the end of the day, it's all about you guys. So thank you guys for checking in. I've been your host, Tony Metro. Let's go, Mets.